Hi, and welcome to CPQ&A with Logic.io, where our VP of Marketing, Blake Grubbs, and our CPQ expert guests discuss trends in the market. Today, we're chatting with Ingmar Hermans, Senior Managing Partner Consultant at Walpole Partnership, about attribute-based versus product-based configuration.
All right, welcome everyone to an episode of CPQ&A. I'm here with Ingmar Hermans from Walpole Partnership. They're a consultancy based out of the UK, specializing in CPQ and other enterprise customer experience applications. Ingmar, welcome. Excited to have you on here. If you could just start off by giving us a quick introduction of yourself, a little bit about your background, and a little bit about Walpole, I think that'd be a good place to start.
Excellent, Blake. No, gladly we'll do that. Hello, everybody. I am Ingmar. I am Senior Managing Partner at Walpole Partnership, and we are the niche boutique system integrator and implementation partner of many enterprise customers, but very much specialized around CPQ and subscription management as an extension. I'm based out of Belgium, but as Blake said, we're headquartered out of the UK, and we cover global accounts quite readily since 2013, where we crossed over, including myself, from enterprise career backgrounds into system integration activity. We thought, well, we can do better by doing it ourselves and implementing and helping our clients implement CPQ and all its integrations alike. Therefore, that's what we have been doing since 2013 for the past 9 years or so, and keep on trucking.
Great. Love it. And like you mentioned, you guys work with a lot of enterprise clients today. You have a long tenured background in the CPQ and quote to cash space. Let's start out broad. What are some of the top CPQ challenges that you're seeing with your clients today? You know, the space is getting kind of more and more complex as time goes on, and requirements are getting more and more complex. Curious as to what the kind of top challenges that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, and these challenges are very much aligned for our enterprise customers to the trends in many of the industries that we serve, and we'll come up to that in a little bit of time. But, challenge number one, in times of inflation, global economy kind of pressures, etc., obviously is margin, right? So, all our customers look to improve or keep at least that bottom line number in the right percentage area, which really means, if you translate that to CPQ or quote to cash for that matter, is accuracy and cycle time. Those are the two biggest things, where if you hit your 100% accuracy and you have your shortest cycle time, it's the best way to protect that bottom line margin for our enterprise customers. That is challenge number one. Challenge number two, not unimportant, particularly in light of our logic discussion today, is the adoption of new business models, right? New product introductions, the speed for go-to-market and making sure these new products and services and solutions can be introduced quickly is challenge number two. And again, strong configuration is backing such new product introduction and new business model development, which last but not least, as the third big challenge, is around revenue acceleration. If you protect your bottom line, you're able to include and introduce new business models, you gotta go get that top line up as well, as far as accelerating the revenue is concerned. Those are the generic, however, very much current set of challenges that we see with our enterprise customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I think those are very, very current, very timely trends that we tend to quite a bit as well. Just to zoom in a little bit more and start to get more specific, one thing that I wanted to kind of double click on with you is specifically around the different types of configurators that companies can leverage as part of their CPQ solution. And because I know that you and Walpole as a whole have really deep experience with big machines and Oracle CPQ, which is an attribute-based configurator, wanted to just get your kind of description and your sense of what attribute-based configuration is, how it's different, how it might differ from other types of configurators out on the market, because I think that's one thing that we see with our clients, that that some companies have a hard time getting a grip on what's what and differences when it comes to attribute-based. So I wanted to get your take.
No, for sure. And it, of course, popular acronym, right? The ABC, right? The attribute-based configuration. But it's really, a way that deals with the word you also already mentioned, is complexity. So the way in which we deal with kind of complex solutions, products, services, and how they are being specified through, a variety, of different factors, characteristics, attributes, right? As we like to call them, right, in our world. And that enabling, that selling experience based around what is required, right? Rather than the process of selection stuff from, products or services from a list. So, if that is the definition of attribute configuration, to deal with that complexity based on a set of characteristics. So if you're going to then use an attribute-based configurator, you're configuring hundreds of these or thousands of these attributes during any individual kind of CPQ configuration session, but that takes the user of CPQ through that configuration journey by having the ability, right, to make the appropriate, eligible selections, and stops them using and choosing invalid combinations. And, last but not least, if you then compare that, as you asked, with kind of the product-based configurations, those are often more simple or simpler use cases, not underestimating some of the complexity that can also get into, STO, which would be select to order, or PTO, pick to order, where lots of components or products or services are being selected, but without the help of a real configurator on the back of it, that, all the way stretched through to, kind of CTO or configured to order, right, is that you have these matching components. However, they're not attribute based, they are not harnessing that complexity that brings this all together through attribute based configuration, which is that rules based engine logic that will drive the user through the configuration. That is what based configuration is about.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And you hit on this a little bit in terms of companies that have a certain degree of complexity and companies that are selling, solutions, right? Hardware, software services. Can you maybe give some examples of like the types of companies that you think benefit most from attribute-based configuration? And, with your clients, when do you see like, hey, this is a really good fit to have, an attribute-based configuration as part of their CPQ?
No, for sure. And it's a little bit kicking an open door for the folks who of course are familiar with CPQ driven industries, but industrial manufacturing organizations are really kind of the traditional sweet spot, right, for CPQ attribute based configuration. Why? Because you'll find that complexity there. You've got businesses that are driven by bringing components and those characteristics of different solutions, as you said, from high tech kind of configurations through to entire components businesses dealing with solution sales, wanting to empower those salespeople to create the more accurate quotes, needing like this rules-based engine, right, to master the complex configuration. And it's to take out also that complexity, because it doesn't mean if things are more complex that you cannot present them in a more simpler way so that the user is scared of this complexity, but he understands or she understands how to deal with that product information to get rid of some of the kind of tribal knowledge that sometimes is involved in traditional sales processes, and then giving back the flexibility through attribute-based configuration to drive eligible and accurate configurators. That is what you're looking for, particularly in industrial manufacturing. Of course, as an extension, you can go into many solution-driven industries that, can be a variety of different ones, through to full services, solution sales industries, as well as, down to even fast-moving consumer goods. But still, the sweet spot remains industrial manufacturing for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one thing when we're talking to clients that they bring up with us is it can be an entirely different kind of set of challenges working with an attribute-based configurator, or just a different mindset in working with an attribute-based configurator than, kind of a pick-to-order, more product-based configurator. Can you talk about some of the challenges, or I guess focus areas that may be different when working with an attribute-based configurator versus others?
No, very much. And again, we continue in that theme. If you look at some of those challenges, I think again, first the biggest one is take the complexity and facilitate, the complexity in the configuration by keeping the application, usable and relevant to anybody who's going to go in and start a configuration session. That is really, challenge number one. And we make sure we do that, based on attribute configuration. And so therefore the choices that are made by the user are always driven by the application, the customer need, much rather than, piecing a product segments together into a specific set of attributes. It is the driving of that user experience that makes the big difference while harnessing that complexity. If you look at the second biggest challenge is just, dealing with the sheer volume of numbers of attributes that you deal with. We work with customers who have data models that spans across thousands of different ones that all need to be brought into the same configuration session, and then making sure, of course, that the technology that you're using is going to respond fast, because the last thing you want to deal with is, yes, I don't know indeed how attribute-based configurations, but I will wait 5 minutes to get a result. Nobody wants that. So you got to have the performance, make sure that you also protect that performance by being very straightforward about how you utilize the logic that is associated with it. And then, last but not least, it's great to set up an attribute-based configurator and have the data model behind it that drives it. However, you also need to maintain it, right? So that's the third big challenge, is to make sure that the maintenance, right, of all the data table structure, of the rules-based engine that is driving the attribute-based configuration is easy to maintain. You got to build it, great, but then, administrators need to have and ready-made administration support for themselves in place to be autonomous in supporting their attribute-based configurators.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with those focus areas and with those challenges that you just mentioned, one thing that I know our clients ask us all the time is, what type of system integrator or what type of partner should we be working with, when we're actually going to implement something like this. And there's obviously such a wide array of expertise and backgrounds that different consultants and different implementation partners have. From your opinion, how important is it if a customer is implementing an attribute-based configurator of any sort, whether it's Oracle or whether it's Logic? How important is it that the partner that they work with has that domain expertise with having worked with those attribute-based configurators versus just general quote-to-cash or CPQ, experience?
Sure. And again, this is where obviously us, as particularly from a kind of niche, that boutique aspect, are bringing that value, to our client base. And why? Because it is not so much about, we know better, as a system integrator. That's not the point. It's about transferring that knowledge and it after you have challenged, your customers and organizations that are implementing attribute-based configurations. And of course, the more versed you are, as an implementation partner in this subject matter, the better indeed you can facilitate, the journey towards a fast implementation of an attribute-based configurator. So, we will be challenging, every one of our customers about their master data, about the data model that needs to drive the attribute-based configuration, and setting up, the rules engine, right, that belongs to the attribute-based configurator. And that's the real work each done hand in glove, between any client, any customer organization, and their SI, their system integrator. Because once you build it, that's great, but then you need to hand over the keys of the kingdom and make sure that the product rules, recommendations, any restrictions, and supporting the requirements can reduce the way that the setup is working, as well as, again, how it can be maintained. So yes, it helps to have the domain expertise, as you say. However, it facilitates indeed that quick implementation, that robustness, and make sure it's future-proofed indeed going forward, based around the attribute-based configuration.
Yeah, absolutely. And that whole concept of future proofing, I think, now in particular, based on, going back to the beginning of our conversation, kind of more important than ever as the world is changing quite a bit and these things are becoming more and more important. Well, Ingmar, this has been great. Last question that I had for you here is just a second for you to talk a little bit more about Walpole, talk a little bit more about kind of the work that you're doing with your clients and the expertise, going off our last question, kind of the expertise that you're able to, you and your firm are able to bring to clients to solve some of their challenges.
No, thank you. And that's really, again, around, for us, as well at Walpole Partnership, is enabling, our customers, again, I use the word already, facilitating our clients, right, for implementing these types of configurators, that fit within the overall configure price quote space, overall quote to order element. How do we do that? It's one by always anything that we do, any work we do as an SI, we have the value, right, that is seen by our customers to be adding value to their business, right, which is number one. Secondly, we do this without providing them any surprises. It's quite, we always say you got to be consistent in the way that this is being done. And for that, you need experience, right? And this is particularly what we have been working on, both, as an implementation partner, as a trusted advisor, right, to our clients, as much as we set in the shoes of what our customers have done, right? We have walked in their shoes, sat in their seats, because we have implemented CPQ and attribute-based configurators ourselves when we were part, and particularly also myself when I was part of the enterprise organization that was implementing CPQ. So if you look at that, making sure there's value, making sure there are no surprises, making sure we're consistent in the approach, you can see the depth of knowledge in transferring that knowledge with the capability, of our pre-sales and sales teams and, implementation teams. But it needs to be, that kind of, that cutting edge, innovative thinking and thought leadership that you're bringing. This is exactly what we do at Walpole. We have chosen our area of expertise many, many moons ago, right? And we have stuck to our guns. And we see that clients appreciate that. They understand, we're a leader in this, in the different industries, looking at configuring attribute-based setups, as well as maintaining them and driving their business on the back of it. So having delivered, and implemented many of these configurators in the different industries that we serve, we see, the huge response, from our customers, because, you don't have to take my word for it. This is going to work. Ask our clients, ask our customers, go look, at walpolepartnership.com and see, anybody, from our customers in industrial manufacturing, in healthcare, technology, financial services. They have all done this, with us, and we have been having the honor and pleasure to guide them. So go check that out, and then please come talk to us when you want to solve the puzzle of adequate attribute-based configuration setup. We'll help you gladly.
Great. Well, thank you, Ingmar, and thank you for sharing the expertise that you've gained from over the years working with attribute-based configurators. Really appreciate it. And yeah, go check out Walpole if you have complex attribute-based configuration needs. Thanks, Ingmar.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.